If Mamdani is elected, let's talk about that possibility. Will the city be safe for Jews?
I think all groups should stay right here in this city. We don't run from hate. We fight against hate. And this is the moment. I think this is a beautiful moment for all the groups, but specifically the Jewish community. You can't do anything about the Holocaust. You can't do anything about being locked down in the Jewish ghetto in Rome years ago. You can't do anything about Spain, telling the Jews they had to leave when Christopher Columbus left. You can't do anything about those global actions that happened to Jewish people years ago. But you can do something about this.
Welcome to the Kraus Report. Today we're going to talk about one of the most interesting and important stories, New York City mayor's race. Zohran Mamdani stunned New York with his results in the Democratic primary. This is not just about elections in New York City. This is about the future of the Democratic Party, and this is about the future of the United States of America. Today, I'm hosting a very special guest, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, who's now running as an independent. We had a very interesting conversation. I asked him about Mamdani, his vision for New York City, and why he thinks that the Jewish community should be concerned about him. Mayor Eric Adams, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Tell me a little bit about your thoughts and feelings throughout this week.
A combination of things. And, when one will ask, Eric, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts? Coming after the primary, there were mixed emotions. Number one, I anticipated what we saw after the primary, and I was ready. That's why I stated I was not going to get mixed up in the primary with all the candidates. Many of them were far left in their philosophies. I'll meet the Mamdani during the general election, and that is exactly what we're faced with. This race is going to come down to Zohran and Eric Adams. But only 9% of New Yorkers have spoken. Many people don't realize 91% have yet to speak. And I'm going to allow those 91% of New Yorkers to understand how important this race is, not only for our city, but our entire country.
Were you surprised that he won the primary?
No, not at all. The Democratic primary is traditionally the left part of the party. In the general election, you see everyone come out. And I saw throughout the year and a half, almost 2 years now, I saw what was playing out on our college campuses. We were radicalizing our children. I saw 5,000 to 10,000 people marching in the streets in our city. I saw this anti-American, anti-Israel energy that was really just playing out in our city. So he did not have to go far to find an army. They were already looking for a way to funnel their anger. And then affordability is a real issue in this city. People are concerned about affordability. They're concerned about are their paychecks going far enough? And so these were good issues to talk about, even if your solutions were things that you couldn't do. You played on the emotions of people, and now we're going to have a real adult conversations about these topics and what I have done and what we're going to do in the future for New Yorkers.
Yeah, because a lot of New Yorkers, and I live in the city, are saying rent is so high. All of the expenses are so high. How can we handle that?
So think about it. Even as the mayor, when I go in and purchase a loaf of bread, I'm saying, darn, these prices are high. When I sit down with my son who graduated from college, trying to move his life forward, we talk about how it's difficult to live in America because the prices have gone up. And we have to be honest, as mayors, what can we do as mayors? I can easily go through the city and say, hey, I'm going to give you free buses. I'm going to give you free this. I'm going to give you free that. Everything that's free, someone is paying for it. So if you go to the delivery worker who's making minimum wage and he's working 12 hours a day, and we say, okay, we're going to give everything free to someone else, we're taking it from that delivery worker. If we go to that teacher who's in that classroom every day and she's working hard and we say, okay, we're going to tax you to pay for those items we're giving away free. What Zohran is failing to do what I believe one of the worst things you can do to individuals who are struggling, because I grew up in poverty, he grew up in luxury. I know how hard it is. Mom was raising 6 children, and people will promise us things, never deliver. That's what he's doing. He's talking about free buses. How he's going to pay for that is to tax the top 1% of New Yorkers. Mayors can't make that decision. We don't raise income taxes. You know who do? Assemblymen. He didn't do it while he was the assemblyman. So how's he going to do it as New Yorkers? So his entire foundation of all the free items that he's talking about is going to cost, just on the buses, $3 billion. $3 billion. The governor already stated she's not raising income taxes. He should have advocated for that while he was in the state, and he didn't. And then when you look at the government-run grocery stores, he's not even factoring in the fact, when you do government-run grocery stores like Cuba and Venezuela, where you don't have stock on the shelves, but you're also going to take out of business hardworking immigrants who have opened grocery stores, bodegas, supermarkets. You're now hurting their businesses where they've employed hundreds of thousands of people. So these ill-advised policies, they sound good because people are struggling and they want answers, and they feel as though, okay, here's someone that is going to give me everything I want. When I was a kid, we used to call that a snake oil salesman, because don't promise to working class and hard-working people things you can't deliver. He grew up in luxury. He read about the struggles of poverty. I lived those struggles, and I know that everyday working class people don't want crime on their streets. They don't want to lose the homes that their wealth is built in, and they don't want to create an environment where people are insulting them to believe they cannot move up through the economic channel. We've done that in this city.
Let's talk about the concerns of the Jewish community in New York. Do you think that Mamdani is an anti-Semite?
Yes, I do. I think that when you, as a young rapper, sponsored groups who were known for embracing Hamas, Hamas is a terrorist, dangerous organization that should be destroyed and dismantled, and no one should be embracing the philosophies of that. I think that when you mimic and do caricatures of Hanukkah, when you know what Hanukkah represents and stands for, I think that when you're in the streets, after what we saw took place on October 7th, when you're in the street either the next day or days later and don't immediately denounce it, when you're unwilling to talk about global intifada.
I've lived through an intifada, and that's, having buses being bombed on the streets in the middle of Tel Aviv, having people shot down while sitting at the bar, going to a music festival, going to a party. This is an intifada. Like, when people are talking about globalize the intifada, this is an intifada. I think it's important to say that.
Right, and when you're not willing to say that, and so some people can sugarcoat it and say, no, I'm anti-Israel. I don't know if you realize who lives in Israel. Jewish people lives in Israel. And so if you're saying, no, I'm anti-Israel, let's be honest with the conversation, and we should not sugarcoat it and dance around it. And I think what's important is that when you look at all of these pieces, when you look at his response to the Jewish people of this city, the largest Jewish population in the country, when you look at him stating he was African American when he was not even American.
What do you think about that?
First of all, he was not even American at the time. He didn't become an American citizen in almost 6 years ago. And so back then, when he made this comment, he knew it was wrong. And then he just said on the tape, that if he were to call himself an African American, it would be misleading. You can't have it both ways, and you have to be consistent in your message and what is.
Was it offensive in your point of view?
I thought it was not only extremely offensive, but there are real rules and laws around stating that you are a particular race to gain entry or to gain benefits for a particular race. And was he trying to take a seat from an African American student? What was his goal? Here was a person who lived in a high economic standard. As I stated, the struggles I live are the struggles he read about and he studied about. That's a big difference. His silver spoon lifestyle was different from my wooden spoon lifestyle. And he doesn't understand what working class people go through every day, all day. And this is not a game. This is not some form of exercise. This is a place where experience is needed. We don't need an experiment. We need experience to continue to move our city forward.
You talked about the Kanuka video. My name is Nuria. I was born on Kanuka. That means my name is Ner Adonai, the candle of God. I mean, we embrace the Jewish holidays. What did you feel when you watched that video that he shared?
I felt the times when people used to mock Kwanzaa. I felt the time when people would mock Ramadan. I felt the times that people would mock Diwali. People who look at the culture and holidays of others and mock them and ridicule them, it's unacceptable. Particularly the amount of time and energy we spent in this city of bringing groups together. Right here at Gracie Mansion, we invite people from all sections of the city to celebrate the cultures of others. Days from now, we're going to have our Jewish heritage. We just had our Caribbean heritage a few days ago. We have every group come here, and we don't only invite the particular group, we invite everyone to come so we can respect each other's culture. That's what Mayor is supposed to do. That's part of our breaking bread, building bonds activities where we bring groups together to sit around the table and say, let me acknowledge and appreciate your culture so you can acknowledge and appreciate mine.
But how come so many New Yorkers went out and voted for a person that you're stating he's supporting Hamas? He's refusing to condemn the call to globalize the Intifada.
Well, I think it's a combination. Again, 9% of the voters. We have 8.5 million New Yorkers. 2.5 million people in the Democratic Party didn't come out. 1 million independents didn't come out. 600 to 700 Republicans didn't come out. And so when you look at, do we have people in this city that embrace his philosophy on things? Yes. Do we have people in the city that are concerned about the affordability of the city, which rightfully they should be? Yes, we do. So he had a number of items that were important to people that people said, hey, my rent is too high. There was one person who ran for governor that embraced the tune, the rent is too darn high. So there were people that had justifiable reasons on why they may have cast a vote. They didn't focus on the anti-Semitism issue. They may have other issues that they identify. It is my job now to explain to them, how do we correct those issues? Like many people did not know, we put $30 billion back into the pockets of New Yorkers, dropping the cost of child care, excusing medical debt, paying for college tuition for foster care children, lowering the cost of transportation on our MetroCard system. Real things that I can do within my power. We just got Albany to pass no income tax on low-income New Yorkers. These are real things that mayors can do. I would never promise to people things that I can't do, because nothing is more hurtful than promising to someone something you can do that you cannot do. He cannot raise income taxes on 1% of New Yorkers. He keeps saying he's going to do that. He doesn't have the power to do that. And he can't even stop rent increases. That's an independent panel, the Rent Guideline Board. He's not in control of that. If mayors were given that power, then you won't need a Rent Guideline Board. The mayor can just make the determination.
If Mamdani is elected, let's talk about that
Yes.
possibility. Will the city be safe for Jews?
Well, first of all, I don't want to be hypothetical because he's not going to be elected because I'm going to beat him. I'm going to win. And I think that one way I win are all those groups I talked about are now mobilizing themselves, the bodega workers, the small business workers.
I talk to a lot of people, I hear a lot of different opinions, and some people are saying maybe Jews should leave to Miami, to Florida.
No, this is. I think all groups should stay right here in this city. We don't run from hate. We fight against hate. This is the moment. I think this is a beautiful moment for all the groups, but specifically the Jewish community. This is a moment where the Jewish community, you can't do anything about the Holocaust. You can't do anything about being locked down in the Jewish ghetto in Rome years ago. You can't do anything about Spain, telling the Jews they had to leave when Christopher Columbus left. You can't do anything about those global actions that happened to Jewish people years ago. But you can do something about this. And if the Jewish community mobilizes, register to vote, and go out and vote, and send a strong message that in this city, you're not running. You're not going to allow anyone to push you out of a city that you help build, you help grow, you help make sure it's the safest big city in America. If I'm a Jewish person, I'm not plotting out my plan to flee, because you're not going to run around the country and run around the globe every time someone comes up and do something that's anti-Semitic. This is a moment where particularly our young generation that are Jewish need to say, it is not going to happen under my watch. I know what happened years ago. I can't do anything about that. But you can do something about this. The power is in the hands of the Jewish community as well as those other communities that's going to be impacted by his proposed action.
I want to show you a short video,
Yes.
things that I had to endure during the protests, the pro-Palestinian protests. I want to show you how they spoke to me. I did not even talk there. I didn't talk to them. I was just standing there. I just want to show you what they told me. The first person calls me chazir, which means pig, which is of course anti-Semitic. The other one just started saying that I'm a bitch because he's assuming that I'm a Zionist. I want to show you that to you and tell me what you think, like if the city is going to change that way or, okay. I'm just standing there, as you can see, talking to my mic. What did you say? Chazir. I'm a chazir. Okay, I'm a pig, okay.
For your friends of the Iowa. What's it for?
Why are you harassing me? Because I'm
Am
standing
I
here?
harassing you? Am I harassing you? You're literally a walking by. Like some bitch infecting the city. Get the fuck out of here. You're so brave. I just want you to know. You're so brave standing up to literally nothing. Literally standing up for nothing. Yeah, she's obviously a Zionist, right? Like, why would she be here? Why else would she be here?
Look what he's doing. You know?
Clown-ass corny bitch. Clown-ass unseasoned bitch. No seasoning, no culture bitch. That's
See,
You're just standing here like a clown, you guys. You just sound like an idiot, you guys. Yeah. Yeah. No, look how dumb you fucking is. Real fucking cute. Hard Fix Tuesday. Real fucking goofy.
I was just standing there,
right,
filming for
right.
my report.
Now, imagine if one is African American and someone is using that vulgar terminology. How do you fight for something of nobility using terminology like that? Voice your concern. Debate. Have any conversation on why you think you're wrong or different. But when you are calling a woman a pig, when you're using the F word, when you're putting a flag in front of her face, when you are just being disrespectful and discourteous, how do I even hear you? How do you legitimize the fight that you're having when you are using actions and terminology like that.
And I'm there as a journalist to cover them.
Right.
I did not talk to them. I was just filming. I actually let them express themselves on my platforms as well.
Right, right.
But I'm Jewish for them.
Exactly.
I'm an Israeli for them.
Right, right. So there's nothing that you can say, the mere fact of your existence as a person. And the reason I identify so much, and on October 9th, I believe it was, I did that speech that we're not all right, is because what I heard and what I saw is no different than what the African American experience was like. And the allies that we have been for so many years. And that's what I felt and saw. And just as Jewish Rosenwald didn't sit back and allow African American students not to be educated in the Deep South, or the young man who went to Mississippi and died and was murdered because they decided to stand with African American students during the Civil Rights era, or the countless number of Jewish people that marched with Dr. King and played a significant role. There's a rich history of even when the Jewish community did not have to, they stood with us. And so I think it's an obligation to do the same. And standing and denouncing what happened in Gaza is in no way to say innocent people should die anyway.
And blaming Israel a few days after it happened.
Right.
But before Israel even reacted, before Israel even responded.
Well, it was the next day.
They still had terrorists inside the kibbutzim
Right.
on that day.
Right. And we were marching in the street saying Israel deserved it.
Yeah.
Israel deserved it.
Resistance is justified.
Right.
Globalize the Intifada.
Exactly.
How can you prevent this from happening?
You can't. Because one of the byproducts of being in America is the right to free speech. And we could cringe at some of the speech, but America gives one the right to free speech. It does not give the right to harm, harass, destroy property. And it was a hard struggle for people of different faith to watch some of the terminology that was being used during the last year and a half. But that's what America permits and allows. In other places, it's not allowed. But America holds free speech at the heart and foundation of who she is. And I tell people all the time, my 19-year-old uncle died in Vietnam defending what this Constitution stands for, even if he did not agree with it all. And so when you see something like that, it actually shows the best of us, that we're willing to tolerate what you're saying. Because if you went among Hamas and you were calling one of the Hamas people the B word, the F word, the pig word, you couldn't do that. That's why we're not them.
But you're condemning the call to globalize the Intifada.
Yes, and that's the beauty of this country. I have the right to condemn what I don't believe is the right thing. And some of the things I heard on the streets of New York, I condemned. I said, I disagree with, these are wrong. You may have a right to say it, and I have a right to tell you you are wrong. I condemned what was on our college campuses of calling for the destruction of America, the destruction of Israel. I condemned the radicalizing of our children. I have condemned those acts, and thank God in this country I have a right to do that.
Will you visit Israel?
I visited Israel several times. I visited Israel 3 times already. And it's not because of just one particular location, but you know what? I visited Saudi Arabia. I visited Palestine. I visited Oman. I visited Jordan.
Because during the debate, the nominees were asked what's the first country they would visit. That was a question that was very much central in the debate. And Tucker Carlson actually said that Mamdani was the only one who got his answer right because he said he would stay in New York. So that's somehow like the far right supporting the progressive left?
I don't know whether the reasons for saying it was right or wrong, but as the mayor of the city of New York, You are an international symbol. I have visited Africa several times. I visited South Central America. I went down to the Durian Gap to see what the migrant asylum seekers look like. Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico. I visited Greece as well. That's what the mayor of the city of New York, because in this city, we're one city, but we're many nations and communities. The United Nations is here for a reason. So any mayor of this city that is not willing to visit other countries so that we can broaden our understanding and scope, I don't think they understand the full role of the mayor. My first trip as mayor, I went to the Dominican Republic.
Really?
Yes. They experienced serious hurricanes, both there in Puerto Rico that I visited after that. And so I don't care what is your first trip, but you should not be crossing any country off the list that is an ally of this country, and make sure that you are having a better communication and understanding.
You were at the Democratic Convention a few months ago. I saw you there in the audience.
Yes.
I was pretty close to you there. You're running independently.
Yes.
Do you think that the Democratic Party has changed, lost its way, in a sense? Now
Yes.
we see that with Mamdani.
I am still a Democrat, but this system allows me to run on my own line as a Democrat. Zohran is also running on the Working Families Party, we believe. Governor Cuomo is running on his own line.
Are you expecting him to drop
I
off?
think that's the best thing that he could do. He ran against Zohran. He lost by 12 points. He should allow me to do what I do best, and that's campaign, bring the same level of energy that Zohran brought, and understand New Yorkers. New Yorkers want someone that's going to be present, that's going to be among them, and that understands them. And I think the best thing that Andrew can do is allow me to do what I planned on doing before he decided that he was going to follow suit.
Up next on the Kraus Report, Mayor Eric Adams is talking about President Trump and ICE. If you like this episode, you can click subscribe and join the Kraus Report. A few last questions. Let's
Yes.
talk about the border issue. If ICE would like to arrest a pro-Hamas protester who is a student at Columbia University, would you support that? Would you?
What we cannot do here in New York City, we cannot coordinate with ICE for any civil enforcement. And we won't do that. I won't break the law. But we have coordinated with ICE on criminal enforcement. We brought down dangerous Venezuelan gangs. One time we brought down 27 gang members who were preying on migrants and asylum seekers. They were preying on women, forcing them into prostitution. They were threatening people and selling guns and drugs. Those are the type of coordinations I'm always looking forward to do, because I want my city to be safe, no matter who's here, documented or undocumented. If the federal government makes a determination to go in and deport someone that is on a college campus merely because they are protesting, we're not allowed to do that. If there's any violence, we're going to be there to make sure we coordinate. And I want to be clear, ICE is not a criminal organization. It's a law enforcement
Mamdani
organization.
is saying you'll work against the border.
I don't know how he defines he would work against. Maybe he will free the 27 gang members that we locked up. Maybe he will allow them to prey again on migrants and asylum seekers.
What about Mahmoud Khalil?
This was the young man who was
student, yeah.
Right. It is up to the federal government, which many people don't fully understand. The federal government determines ICE civil enforcement. That's their job to do. My job is to protect people in this city from violence, hurt, and danger, and that's what I'm going to do. I respect the federal government doing its job. I must do my job. That's what happened to me under the previous administration. They shoved their responsibility on me, and it cost me $7.7 billion because the federal government didn't do their job. The federal government is now doing their job. They secured our borders. And I'm going from 4,000 migrants and asylum seekers a week in my city to less than 100. I need the federal government to do their job.
Some were saying you had this sort of a deal with President Trump, that you will get your charges deleted and then you'll help him with the borders.
Those are the same people who probably went out and voted for Zohran. Yes, they want to create a narrative and create a story. If you were to do an analysis...
Did you have any deal with President Trump?
I said in open federal court, I raised my right hand, placed my hands on the Bible, and stated there was no deal. The judge asked me clearly, did anyone promise you anything or did you agree to anything? Under the threat of perjury, which is a crime, I told the judge, no, not at all. And no one had any evidence that ever showed that there was any type of agreement. And what they base it on is what I say. And I said over and over again, go look at what I said pre-election and then compare it to what I said post-election, and you'll see it's the same thing. Even before I knew President Trump was going to win, I had the same position that I said pre-election. So there was no deal to be made. I have only one deal, and that's with the people of the city of New York. I'm going to keep them safe, and I'm going to move the city forward.
And what do you say to voters that are, seeing the numbers? These are older numbers, but 20% of registered voters approved of your job that was taken while you were facing federal corruption charges. How do you respond to that?
Well, when you have to ask yourself, how does voters know of your job, Eric? They know of your job from our tabloids. They read the tabloids every day, and they come to a determination of what is happening in the city. I have not had the chance to communicate with my voters one-on-one. Many of my voters, when I talk to them about my decrease in crime, in the last 6 months, we had the lowest number of shootings and homicide in recorded history of the city. They don't know about we have more jobs in New York City in the city's history. They don't know about the housing we've built. They don't know about the money we put back into our schools. Now I have to go out and tell them the job I've done. The reason they disapprove, because they've been reading the same tabloids that never told the story of what we've done in the city. So of course you're going to disapprove. Now I have an opportunity to go speak directly to those New Yorkers.
Probably the most important question I wrote, what's your favorite Jewish deli in New York?
Gotta be Cats.
Cats?
Yes.
Okay, mine is Barney Greengrass, I must say. I love the gefilte fish, the salmon bagel, but you like cats.
Yes.
You look like a cat guy.
I love this split pea soup.
Can I ask you to show me your nails?
What happens on nails?
I think I overdressed to the interview, right?
No.
I overdressed a little bit.
Saturday, no, you didn't. Sunday is a day of moving around the city at different events. I like to throw on a polo shirt. And you be you.
They didn't tell me that. I'm an Israeli. I could, I could come with like a t-shirt and shorts, but I didn't know that.
They should have told you you can be whomever you want to be.
It's true. I just want to tell you before we wrap this interview, I tried to approach Mamdani's spokes. I didn't even get a response.
Right.
When I approached your people, immediately they wanted to talk.
Yes.
With us, and they said he will give you an interview. We need to find time to schedule it.
Right. Well, there is no avenue, no room, no place. When you are built on truth, you're not afraid to tell that truth, no matter who's in front of you. I will go in front of anyone and tell not only my personal story that I'm not ashamed of, the mistakes, the plus, the minuses, but I'm also willing to talk about where I want to take this city. And I'm willing to sit in a room with anyone. The joy of being me is that I'm perfectly imperfect, and I've acknowledged that, so I don't have to be perfect. I can be honest.
So this is also an open invitation for Mamdani to talk to me as well.
And he should, because when you're the mayor of the entire city, not part of the city. You're the mayor of the entire city. I like to tell people in New York, We have 5 fingers, but they love the middle one the most, and they're not afraid to tell you that.
I think that's a great way to end this interview. Mayor Eric Adams, thank you so
you.
much for having me here. It's a beautiful place. Thank you. Overdressed. Indeed, overdressed. Thank you for joining the Kraus Report. If you like this episode, you can click subscribe and comment. See you next time.